Hey, what's going on, guys? You got Ace here. Sorry about the late NPL upload, but this week we have a game against Danza. Danza has a team of like double genies with Tornadus Therian and Lando I, which is just so hard to deal with. And he has Victini, Sylveon, Amaswine, and a few other mons that are very tough to deal with. You can see the first one on my team is actually a T-Wave Togekiss. It does pretty well against this team. Really, the only Mon that wants to come in on a T-Wave is Landorus, and I actually think I can deal with Landorus pretty well. As you can see, I have the Shuka Empoleon, which helps quite a lot. Latios can sort of switch in and offensively pressure it out. Landorus can't OHKO like Gallade or anything like that, and it can't OHKO Togekiss, so that's fine there. Uh, Next I have Latios. He doesn't really have a good switch into my dual stabs. Ice Beam is there so I can OHKO Landorus without having to go for Draco Meteor. And yeah, he doesn't have a good switch in, so we're going to be fine there. I don't really remember all that well what his steel type was, but it wasn't taking hit Draco or Psychic very well. So that's going to be Latios. Next I have Thundurus. It's a nasty plot, Thunderbolt, Grass Knot, HPI set. This Mon can, it has Yachi Berry for Scarf Mamoswine or Ice Shard Mamoswine. I can take a hit from that and go for the Grass Knot. It kills it even if I'm not at +2. So that's nice. I don't even have to risk Focus Blast. And this Mon has pretty ample setup opportunity against this team, especially if he's like a Scarf Landorus. I can set up and really put in the hurt on his team. His team's kind of slow except for the Tornadus. So what I can do is just set up, and Tornadus can't really touch me generally because its coverage moves don't really hit Thundurus, so that's good for me. Next I have Scarf from Manitan. A good win con as always. I use it almost every week. But yeah, his resists are not the best. His water type's a Lantern, for example, so it'll be pretty easy to take advantage of him with this set. And then we have Shuka Empoleon. Basically this thing's here because I don't have a switch into Mamoswine. And I have Mons that let in Mamoswine, like Togekiss and even Thundurus, if you somehow manage to pop the Yachi at some point. So Empoleon is here, so I could hopefully maybe double to it against Mamo or lead it or something like that. And, you know, live an EQ and get off a huge Scald against his team. So that's going to be the point with Empoleon. Shuckenberry might put me in Torrent range as well, which would just obliterate Mamoswine at that point. But, you know, Rocks and Defog. Defog's, as always, very important for my team because Darmanitan, Thundurus, Togekiss all weak to Rocks. And lastly, we got a Swords Dance Gallade. Really, his only switch into Gallade is Sylveon. So if I Swords Dance, then Headbutt's going to be doing a million to it. So I only need a little bit of chip damage, which I can achieve with something like Latios, because he's probably going to be Fizz Def for Gallade, and then Sylveon really doesn't appreciate a Soul Dew Psychic, so that'll put it easily in range of +2 Zen. So that's going to be the team for Danza, and let's get into the replay. There we go. So as you can see, he decided to bring the Lantern, which is kind of interesting. I don't think I'll have that much of a big deal handling it because I brought Latios, and Glade sort of deals with it as well, so that shouldn't be too bad. It's not physically bulky enough to... I'm not sure that it lives 2 Flare Blitzes from full from Darm, so hopefully Lantern isn't too big of a thorn on our side. So I'm going to lead Thundurus because I'm expecting the Torn lead, and at first glance he doesn't have too much for a +2 Thundurus. It's also good against the Mamo lead. If he decides to go for whatever move he goes for, I can just Grass Knot him, and there's not many ways where he can punish me for that. He leads Victini though. I have to respect like this. Like he lives any hit from me, and V-Create takes me out, so I just have to go Lottie here. As he decides, instead of U-turning out, he just goes into Lantern, which tells me that he's probably a Volt Absorb Lantern. Most likely Spadef to deal with Thunderous. But again, Latios was my Lantern counter to start out with, so I'm just going to stay in and go for some Psychics and just weaken this thing down. Put it to a point where he can't take a CC from Gallade. He just goes for Toxic, which is fine because I'm an offensive set. And after Lefty's recovery, he'll be in range of a Draco, which is great. So I'll be able to take out, his only resist to Darm, which would be really nice for late game. It also opens up the door for Togekiss quite a bit because he might be a Scarf Victini, so Togekiss can T-Wave that. It can flinch down the Sylveon, it can T-Wave the Torn, and get some big damage on Mamoswine and Landorus with Air Slash as well. So if he doesn't have this Lantern available to him, then I'll be able to deal with this team much better. So I go for Draco, and I miss, which sucks because he just gets to Volt Switch out, and he'll be able to come in on my Togekiss later in the game, which is such a big deal. So I decided to sort of predict rocks here and just stay in. I don't know, just in case he choked me up for rocks. I don't lose much by losing this Latios because I'm so weak. I don't count as a lander switching anymore, for example. Like, there's no real point in going to Empoleon here because if he just goes for the ice move, then I'm assuming he either goes for an ice move or rocks here. And staying in and Dracoing punishes him a lot more for going for rocks than going to Empoleon does. But if he just clicks an ice move, then Empoleon's a better play. So I decided to play it safe. Losing Latios isn't too big of a deal because I'm toxic, and he still has a Sylveon to switch into me. So I just stay in. He goes for Icicle Spear, which sort of makes an alarm go off my head. I'm thinking, okay, so he's afraid of a Yachi Berry on something. That something is most likely going to be Thunderous. So I'm thinking this is a Scarf Mamoswine at this point. So because of that, I go into Gallade. He can't KO me with Icicle Spear, so I can just actually double out into Empoleon, predicting the Sylveon so I can get at my rocks, which is going to be huge against his Victini and his Torn, and possibly breaking a potential Sash on Mamo as well. So I just get at my rocks. He goes into Torn, which I think was a very questionable play because what's Torn doing to me? I'm thinking, alright, he might have Superpower. Superpower is going to do a decent number to my Empoleon. Like, I'll probably take around half from it, maybe a little more, maybe 60. And I can't do all too much back to this Torn. I can, like, Toxic it, or I forget if did I have Ice Beam on this set? I have Scald Toxic, so I could, like, Scald Burn it, maybe Toxic it. So maybe that's what he's thinking. He has Superpower. You can just get a big chunk of damage off on my Empoleon without losing too much from this Torn. So I just got into Togekiss to scout for a potential Superpower, as he ends up just going for Defog. So that's a smart bring on his part because it's hard for me to get at rocks against him, and he can just Defog it easily away. So that's good for him. And now I just go back into Empoleon because he might have Sludge Wave, and I don't want to get Sludge Waved. So he gets the Confusion, thinking not a huge deal. I can just go for my rocks here. He's probably just going to U-turn out, and if I don't get confused, I'll get my rocks up, and he'll have the momentum. He'll be going to, like, I don't know, Mamo or Lando, or if he's scared of a Scald, maybe Lantern. But he actually decides to stay in and go for Hurricane, fishing for confusions, which I don't agree with because he's just giving me rocks, but I don't know. He ends up getting them, though, which sucks. This time he gets a crit, and I hit myself in confusion, and now I'm just a sack. So I definitely should have gotten rocks there. Like, I could have just spammed rocks until either I died or he switched out. And I was hoping I could at least, stay alive one of those turns and force rocks to stay on the field, pressure his Victini and his Torn quite a bit more. And a Lantern too. It's at very low HP. But unfortunately, that's how this match is going to go because, I missed the Draco with Lottie. I get confused and crit. I get crit once and confused twice with Empoleon. So Unfortunately, I felt like this match was going to be like a pretty close and competitive match at first. You know, both making some good plays, or both making some mistakes, but unfortunately the hacks is just all in his favor, and I'm unable to do anything about it. I go for my +2 grass knot. It somehow doesn't take it out, which is annoying yet again because he has Icy Wind to break my Yachi. So it probably didn't matter anyway because I think he's Scarf Icicle Spear Mammo, so whatever. He goes for the Icicle Spear here. Darms in. I take a lot here, which sucks, but that's how it goes. I go for Superpower because I don't want to take Flare Blitz recoil, but he just switches out to Victini. They did like Flare Blitz did more than Superpower to Victini. Like probably would have left him around half, but like the damage isn't gonna matter because I don't have rocks up. So I go into Togekiss. He goes for V-Create. The damage reveals probably Scarf. So Thundurus probably wouldn't have swept no matter what because he brought at least 2 Scarfers in my opinion. Like I know Victini's Scarf. I'm pretty sure that Mammo Scarfed, and I don't know about Sylveon. So a couple of plays happen there. He goes Lando on my Togekiss as I go for an Air Slash. I decide not to go for a Thunder Wave because he's 2 ground types and could go to either one. So I go for Air Slash, and I go into Thundurus as he goes for Sludge Wave. Like that was my only play there. Like I could have gone Gallade, but Gallade not in his Mega form takes a ton from Sludge Wave. And I'd rather have my HP up so that I can take, I don't know, an EQ from a Scarf Mammo or something. At this point, he has so many Scarfers, my team's so weak that I can't really win. Like Scarf Mammo can just clean up with Icicle Spear late game if he so chooses. Yeah, I get a little bit of momentum here. I could have predicted this Victini, but it wouldn't matter in the long run. Like my best play there was to bank on a choke and him going hard Mammo on my HP Ice. So that way I could kill that off and maybe try to win with Gallade late game. He would have to miss the Hurricane too, but I felt at this point the hacks was so much in his favor that maybe it was time for a little bit of justice. But unfortunately, that's not how it's going to go. He goes Victini, and he predicts my Togekiss with a Bolt Strike, which is good on him. But I mean, V-Create killed anyway, or at least 2 V-Creates killed. So I can go into Gallade. I set up my SD, or actually I go for a knockoff. I knock off a Choice Scarf, so I think he's brought 3 Scarfers, which is actually a pretty cool strategy against my team because I don't have a lot of good bulk on my team. My team's pretty offensive, and he expected an offensive team from me going into the matchup. So kind of a cool, like, innovative strategy bringing 3 Scarfers because that's not a thing you normally see. Usually you see 1 and very rarely 2 Scarfers. So 3 Scarfers. Not sure if I agree with the Scarf Sylveon because I have Togekiss and Empoleon, which just take advantage of it and can go for free things as a result. But he has Scarf Sylveon. Zen is a roll to take him out. It's a roll in his favor. It's like 60-70% to not take him out. But then I also have the 20% chance to flinch, so I go for it. I don't take him out. He doesn't get flinched, and I die. And that's going to be the game, pretty much. So he sacks some differential, which is nice. Like, he just lets me kill a couple mons, which is cool of him to do. But yeah, that's going to be it. So very unfortunate game against Danza this week. I wish I didn't spend too much time prepping for this battle. I don't think it would have helped me because of the hacks, but that's just how it's going to go. So next week we play against Cheese, and hopefully it's a bit more of a competitive match than this one, and GG's to Danza. Alright, see you guys. Bye.